If you're having difficulty with the Australian, British, or other native English accents, which English exam is the best fit for you? Keep watching and find out.
Hello to our 9.09er English subscribers worldwide. In the last 3 weeks, we focused on CELPIP speaking, CELPIP reading, and CELPIP writing. Which subtest is missing? Voila! It's the listening subtest. In the last 3 weeks, we compared the 3 English examinations that you can use to apply for Canadian immigrant visa. Very specific, huh? Immigrant visa, not student visa. And for this particular video, we are going to focus on CELPIP listening, vis-a-vis the other English examinations like PTE Core and IELTS General Training. So, Sir Pheelyp, what is CELPIP listening all about?
CELPIP listening, Sir Ervin, is a combination of 6 different tasks, increasing level of difficulty, from listening to friends talking and to listening for problem solving, to watching a video of watching 3 people speak, to watching a speaker talk about different points of view. It's really a wide variety of things. And I would like to point out from the very beginning that one of the things that makes CELPIP listening distinct is that unlike any other English exams, in CELPIP listening, you hear the audio before you see the questions. So you have to be very good at note taking. And during class, we talk about specific ways with which you can mark your paper, because during the exam you would be given paper so that you can organize your thoughts, etc. Because we're not expected to memorize the audio, but so you should be very good at note taking so that you don't miss anything that's important.
Unlike in other English examinations, you can read the questions prior to the recording.
Indeed, but here you have no idea where can the answer be found at the very beginning in the last few words of the audio. I remember hunting for words when I was taking the test because I was used to the other English exams where I was given a heads up of what keywords to look out for and which ones would let me know that the answer is nearby.
Well, I took IELTS. That's why I can tell you the format in IELTS listening. So, there are 4 sections of varying difficulty. First section is typically the easiest, and fourth section is usually the most difficult. And in IELTS listening, you get to read the questions before listening to the recording. And the best part, for IELTS listening, no complicated questions, only multiple choice, gap fill, which is like fill in the blanks. But what about PTE Core, Sir Pheelyp?
PTE Core is exactly the same
As
as
PTE
PTE Academic. So for those of you who are familiar with PTE Academic already, then there would be no changes that you would need to do for your review. Now, PTE reading, listening rather, apologies, is, I would have to admit, is a little bit challenging when it comes to IELTS general training, because it has retell, rather, you have to pay attention to a lecture and you have to summarize it. Something that I usually do not do
In
in real life.
yes.
Yeah, and it was such a stretch for me to do it during my own test.
In the previous weeks, we asked Sir Pheelyp the following questions, and we're going to ask him exactly the same question. Between or of the 3 English examinations for Canadian immigrant visa application, which English exam is easiest to prepare for? Not necessarily easiest to pass, but easiest to prepare for. Your judgment, Sir Pheelyp?
So Ervin, definitely hands down, that would have to be IELTS general training.
I thought so too.
Indeed, it's, as you mentioned, very straightforward. There are no tricky questions. You don't have to summarize anything, and you don't have to be very good at note taking as well. It's just purely listening.
And we are not saying this because we are an official IELTS testing center in 11 key cities nationwide. We are saying this because if you look at the general average or the national average of Filipinos in the IELTS, it's actually in listening where we got the highest, higher than 7. And for most visa applications, they require lower than 7. So even if you consider yourself an average Filipino whose listening scale is also average, chances are you're going to get a high grade in IELTS listening. But the second question, of the 3, which one is the most challenging to prepare for?
CELPIP. CELPIP, because not only do you have to be very good at note taking, but scrambling for the keywords in the audio while having no reassurance. Is what I'm listening to important, or is it like an irrelevance? That was really a drawback for me, Servant, when it comes to CELPIP. In addition, unique amongst the different English exams, CELPIP listening has a video wherein you would be watching three people talking with different points of view, and for some it would be helpful because you have nonverbal cues like facial expressions, etc., hand gestures, perhaps. But I can imagine that for some, this is more of a distraction. Some people are focused too much on the visuals instead of what the exam is, which is listening. So I CELPIP is the most challenging.
If you were watching our videos in the last 3 weeks, we asked Sir Pheelyp the same question. We know that some of you are going to choose IELTS General Training, and the others might go for PTE Core, and there are those who are looking at CELPIP as the only option. So we are going to tell you what are the advantages of each. Let's begin with IELTS listening. So Sir Pheelyp, if you're applying for Canadian immigrant visa, why would you recommend IELTS General Training over the two other English exams?
Hands down, Sir Ervin, the overabundance of materials that are available for IELTS listening, because the IELTS is the oldest exam of the three, and people have therefore had a lot of time to come up with lots of materials, including Niner, and therefore people can practice again and again the what they can expect to do for IELTS.
To add to that, our national average grade in listening for the IELTS higher than 7. So it's very rare to find a Filipino who's not able to get the required band score for IELTS listening. Well, some people are afraid of the IELTS because of the other subtests, not the listening test. So let's go to number 2, CELPIP. Who among the candidates would you recommend to choose CELPIP over the two other English exams?
If they're having difficulty with the British and Australian and other native English accents, because in CELPIP it's purely Canadian, and it's the kind of accent that a lot of people are familiar with. So no Harry Potter here, no down under stuff. So if having a strange accent makes it incomprehensible to you, the English, then CELPIP by far is the way to go.
Just in case you're wondering, Canadians sound a lot like the Americans because apparently they are neighbors. And if you want to have a glimpse or a taste of the Canadian accent, just listen to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. There's Justin Bieber, there's Celine Dion. So far, they are some of the most famous Canadians that we know. If you clearly understand when they talk, then CELPIP listening will be easy for you when it comes to accent. So we've already talked about the selling points for IELTS listening and CELPIP listening. What about PTE Core? Why would you recommend PTE Core over the two other English exams?
I would recommend PTE Core over CELPIP because it is easier and you don't have to do note taking and you can see the questions before the audio. Why I would recommend PTE Core over the IELTS?
Dun, 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 dun.
I can't think of a reason. And I think that this is understandable. You pick PTE Core because of how easy it is in the other subtests.
True.
Not for listening. So the real question is, when do you pick PTE Core over IELTS? When it comes to listening, you don't. You don't, because IELTS is easier. But these English exams have not one subtest, but rather 4. And if you're good in the other subtests and it's just listening that you're not so good at, then I guess that's when PTE Core is an acceptable option.
Guys, this coming May 2025, we are releasing our first CELPIP book. If you check our Shopee page or Amazon page, we've had a lot of review materials for the other English exams. We have published books for IELTS, OET, NET, PTE, but this is the first time we're publishing a book for CELPIP, and that's complete with all 4 subtests. So if you are looking for more review materials for CELPIP, watch out as we launch our very own CELPIP book this May. Before we end this video, we encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment on anything that you want 9.09er to talk about, because if you need help with your English examination preparation, there's just one name to remember, and that is 9.09er English.